Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Follow Your Passion. Let me introduce my guest of today. My guest is Mary Joye. She's a licensed health counselor in Florida and has written several self-help books and e-courses. Mary's first job was working for the rock group Kiss as a makeup artist. And as you know, Kiss, that's already a full-time job. She also has been a professional songwriter and singer in Nashville at Warner Brothers. And as a as a psychiatrist's daughter, she understands how it feels to be an extension of a family image, and better yet, how to become independent of past programming and work towards healthy relationships. Mary helps others become conscious of the subconscious and assist them to expedite health with meditations, visualizations, affirmations, and guided imagery. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you for having me, Erwin. I appreciate it so much. I'm looking forward to the conversation. We don't know where it's going to go. We'll just let it unfold.
Exactly. So, this first job you had as makeup artist for Kiss, I think you were still in college or university?
I had just gotten out. I had just graduated. I was a theater major, and I put myself through school as a stagehand because my father, the psychiatrist you mentioned, disowned me, which means he didn't own me anymore because he wanted me to be a doctor like him. And I didn't want to be, because I said, well, I'll just pass out and flunk out if I have to stitch someone up or I just can't do it. I can't stitch them up and I can't cut them open. But I did. I worked for Kiss. I was a stagehand. The road manager noticed how hard I was working, and that is what happened. So I didn't even know the road manager was working for Kiss. I was doing a show at the University of Florida, and they saw me working really hard, carrying a light up 40 feet in the air on my shoulder.
Yeah.
I was in my 20s. I was just like, Gidget carries lights. I got to do it. Dad disowned me. So I had to join the stagehand union. I was a stagehand.
Yeah. And but you actually also learned a lot during that period, right? That you're still using right now.
Oh, absolutely. I learned so much from theater. I think theater and psychology. There was actually a psychologist named George Kelly who was a theater major, because theater is the study of human behavior. And then I was a songwriter, which is getting people in touch with their emotions. And then I'm doing that now as a therapist. I do the same thing. It's all the same thing.
Yeah, nice. And I actually have a background as hypnotherapist, and I did study Ericksonian storytelling and metaphors. And there's so much value in those and storytelling as well. I guess you use it as well when you're doing your guided imagery and stuff like that.
Yes, it is a lesser form of hypnosis, meaning a little less deep, as you know, and you could probably explain that better than me. But yeah, my dad taught me to do auto hypnosis. So hypnosis changes. If I want to change something, I go deep, or I just get somebody else to help me. It's amazing. It can help you do anything if you want to. I'm sure you tell people, only to the point of desires. No one can control your brain but you.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
When you want to change a habit, hypnosis is, I call it like the fast track.
That's why I say as well, the common research says that it takes anywhere between 30 days and 90 days to change a habit. Or you just take one session of hypnotherapy, about 90 minutes. So whatever is more effective to you.
Yes, that's what, in Europe, we don't have them over here, and I wish we did. You have the high-speed trains. That's how I think of hypnosis. It's like, do you want to enjoy the scenery and go through a process, or just want to get there? So if you just want to get there, hypnosis is the way to just get there.
Yeah, exactly. So at what stage did you decide to become your own licensed health counselor and start your own business?
Well, I had to reinvent. Warner Brothers sold to AOL, and so a lot of us got downsized. And I was 45 when I began that journey, and I was almost 55 till I completed everything I needed to get, because it's quite a degree. I had to go back to graduate school, so it was a process, but I did it, and it was interesting because I learned a lot. I learned a lot. And I learned I was codependent in school, which is what I just wrote a book about. So I'm like, okay, I can do this. I have a dog trying to get up here. We'll make it really human. Here he
Yeah.
is. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's a nice one.
Yeah, he's a
I got
nice
two
one.
dogs myself at home, so that's why I'm at the office.
Well, he's just a show stealer. So
Yeah.
good promotional support.
Oh,
Yes.
definitely, definitely. There's I got another guest. She's doing goat yoga, and she finds that being around goats also helps with mental health issues and
It
getting through
does.
that. And I think animals has that kind of effect on people.
It does. And it's funny. I believe in synchronicity. You probably do too, because of what you do in your life. And this dog loved quarantine during COVID. And I don't think I could have done Zoom sessions without him being here, because, I wasn't one-on-one. I was just like we're talking now on across the cyber world. But just having a dog by my side, I bought the chair I'm sitting in to make it extra big so I could have my dogs here, because they love me being home. So yes, animals really do reduce your blood pressure. They give you they give you oxytocin, which is a trust hormone. They make the world a better place to be.
Yeah,
If you have the
definitely.
right one.
Oh yeah.
They can make it more difficult if you got a mean one.
Yeah, but if you got the right one, and also this unconditional love they're showing to you, it's wonderful.
Yes. Yes. Especially dogs. They're just innately, um, they are very much like humans. They have the vagus nerve like we do. They have all the same chemicals we do. We have mirror neurons with them. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I know exactly what you mean. That's great. So now that you're a licensed health counselor, um, is it also so that you understand the work your father did even better now that you're helping people with their mental challenges?
Yes. And I, as a sideline, and there's a touch of humor to it. I did not tell my father I was in graduate school until after I graduated.
Ah,
Because he didn't like psychology. He wanted me to be a psychiatrist, and that's a medical doctor and all those things. So I told him afterwards, and he kind of went, he was a bit shocked, and he was testing me and being, very clinical. And I said, it wasn't like you were a carpenter. I was a creative, expressive child, and you were trying to, cram me into your expression of your image. But truly, I'm so much better off having done it this way. And you know what? He actually agreed with me. He watched one of the Inside the Actor Studios one night. I didn't tell him to. He was just watching it, which are kind of boring if you're not an actor, because it really goes deep into acting. And he said, I didn't know actors were, and he went, and I said, intelligent, expressive, able to get in touch with not just their emotions, but everyone else's, to play other characters. He said, yes, I didn't realize actors were so well-rounded. And I said, yeah, they're more balanced than you think they are. They are.
yeah. And actually, I think it was about 5 years ago. I met some great actors. I met John Travolta, Mel Gibson, and some other ones. And they're very intelligent, and they're great entrepreneurs as well. But you only know them from the screen, but there's so much more to them, much more depth to them that
Yes.
you only realize it once you've met them.
Yes. And you realize the amount of ability, even if they don't know the character, they research them. So it's a form of hypnosis when someone goes into method acting and plays a character. They are believing that they're that character, so the audience will believe it. And that's such an important skill they have. You can't, I always say, the greatest actors, like if they're playing someone who's not intelligent, they're usually intelligent. Like Dolly Parton always says, it takes a fortune to look this cheap, and she's very intelligent. She's a great songwriter.
Yeah.
But she, the self-deprecating humor. But actors don't really let you into their brains, because that's not what they're about. They're just trying to share a character with people and become someone else. It's interesting. I love the psychology of performers, because I used to be one. It's not what people think on the surface at all.
Yeah. And I guess that in your daily business, you also use your creativity to help your clients as well, right?
Well, you absolutely have to. And I remember my father was one of the, I don't know why he fought with me at all, because he was one of the first students of a man named Joseph Merluzzi, who was the psychodrama father. He was the founding father of psychodrama. And I used to help dad in his office with some of that, because he thought I was just a kid actor and I got paid to act when I was 12. And he said, oh, I'll just let my kid help me. Then she'll want to be a psychiatrist. But actually I was helping him in his office with psychodrama. And psychodrama is amazing because you're getting in someone's life with them and being a character in their life. So you're bringing them out of themselves by doing that. So yeah, it's a special skill.
Yeah, nice. I also read that you're using meditations, visualizations, affirmations as well. What's your view on affirmations?
Well, there's two. Go ahead, ask me.
Well, there are people using affirmations like they're thinking about like the law of attraction, in universal laws. I think also it has a lot to do with focus, where attention goes, energy flows.
Yes.
And it's I'm not saying narrow-sighted, but it's giving you the focus and you'll find more proof of it. And you get in this positive vicious circle, so to speak. So what's your view on affirmations?
It broadens, and I do have them at the end of every chapter, but I warn people with affirmations, you have to be very careful to say, I am instead of I will. Because if you say I am focused, I am changing, like I am gaining health instead of I am losing weight, because one is punishing and one is more positive. So affirmations work if you apply action to them. It's not just the saying, it's just one piece of that body, mind, spirit connection. And affirmation is wonderful because it affirms something in your brain, but you have to act upon it. That's like, you can't just say, well, I want to go to veterinary school, or I'm going to be a veterinarian. Well, you have to go to veterinary school. You can't just go, I am a vet, I am a veterinarian, I am a veterinarian. You actually have to go to veterinary school. So affirmations are a great supplement to hypnosis, guided imagery, therapy, but they are not everything. Some people try to use them for everything. If you say it, you'll get it. If you proclaim it, name it and proclaim it, it does. That's just a piece of a puzzle. And they don't work for everyone. They just don't work for everyone.
Yeah. And I think it's also, it's also, like I said, we're getting like millions of bits of information per second, that enters our system. Our subconscious gathers all that information, it filters it, it processes it, and about just a small percentage, even less, gets processed towards our conscious mind.
Yes.
And the easiest to explain that is, let's say that you're a woman and you're pregnant for the first time, right? Yes. And suddenly you see all kinds of pregnant women on the street. You see grandparents walking their grandchildren. You see all the ads for the food, for the supplements for pregnant women. I think it seems like the whole world knows that I'm pregnant, right?
Yes.
But this information has been always there, right? There's always ads, there are always parents walking their kids, there are always pregnant women around. But as long as it doesn't have your focus, it gets filtered out. Yes. It doesn't get processed from the subconscious mind to the conscious mind.
Yes.
But the moment it gets your attention, the subconscious mind thinks it's important to you, and it will forward that information. And yes. I think that affirmations work like a similar way. The moment you got your focus on something, you'll find more proof of it. And the more proof you find it, the stronger that belief will become.
Yes.
And you will finally achieve what you're looking for.
Yes, your brain, when you affirm something verbally, your brain seeks out subconsciously to affirm it, not just what you visualized, but to make it actual. It'll actualize itself. It'll find its way because your brain is seeking that. If you keep focusing on, I'm not educated, I'm not educated, I'm not educated, instead of I want to go to school, I want to go to school. When you focus that I am going to school, that whole shift of what you said about giving it attention, when you give it attention, it changes your intention and it sets it in positive motion. And our brains, our self-fulfilling prophecy brains, will set forth to perform it. It just does. And I make it a very simple way to do this. Like, think of a car. I always use a car that nobody really wants too much. I don't know. I usually would say, if you imagine that you want a lime green Mustang or a, a blue 1956 Bel Air car, that's all you're going to see on the road because that's all you're thinking about. And what you think about, you see and you do and you act on it. So the next thing you know, you're in the car dealership getting the car that you're thinking about because you see it everywhere. You selectively do that. So that's what affirmations are good for too. You think about it, you say it, you act on it.
Yeah. And it's definitely the last part, you act on it. That's the most important one. Otherwise, it just stay a daydream.
It's in the ethers. It's just and somebody else will get your dream. And I really do see that as songwriters. I love Chris Christopherson. He was a very famous songwriter in Nashville. And he wrote Help Me Make It Through the Night. A lot of people would know that. But he said songs are just in the air, and it's the creative person that catches them that brings them out. He also said, would you notice that when films come out, they're like 3 or 4 films come out on the same subject in the same year, but they weren't even made at the same time. It's that collective consciousness. He was a Rhodes Scholar, so wasn't just a Nashville songwriter. He was a very brilliant man. And he said that, and I said, that is so true. That is so true. Yeah, we catch it.
Yeah, definitely.
You tap into that flow.
Yeah. So do you still remember the first client you've helped when you started for yourself?
Yes, I actually do. I can't say too much about it, but we can talk in general terms. Yes, I actually do. That's to see me. Oh, it makes me squirm. We're so HIPAA compliant over here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How was it for you to actually make this positive impact for your first client?
It was. I cannot tell you how rewarding it was, because I think what we were just talking about, I tapped into a flow. I said, wow, everything that I'd ever done in my life had diverged and converged back into this purpose. At this stage and age in life, this is what I'm supposed to be. I saw somebody get helped, and in doing so, it helped me, and not in a codependent way, in a way that said, wow, I have nothing in common with this person other than being human. So when you're just interpersonal and human, and you're helping people listen to themselves, which is what I think therapists should do, is help people listen to themselves, not listen to me, but listen to themselves. And it's my job to help them listen to themselves and hear what they want and help them get there. I went, wow, the purpose is fulfilled. I understand now. And I rebelled against it for years, but in a way that led me to be a better, different kind of therapist than other people might be.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that. My biggest fear of hypnotherapy was not being in control. That I would be a puppet in the hands of the hypnotist, until I went to a one-day workshop with my wife. I thought, if I have to be hypnotized, then it better be my wife. I trust her.
Yes.
And I actually experienced being a hypnotist, doing an exercise on a fellow student, that even though that student was in deep trance, he just snapped out of it like that. And that's when I realized, that even when you're proven to be in a deep trance, but it's not the right therapist, or it's not the right moment, or there's something you don't want to be uncovered at that moment, you just have the power to get out of it.
Yes,
to snap out of it.
Yes.
And what was my biggest fear, it was one of my fears, not being in control, is now one of my biggest strengths. And it's so amazing if you to realize that, actually.
Yes, it's liberating when your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. And if you can keep that in the light. I love Carl Jung talking about our shadow selves. If you realize that, like I'm compassionate to the dark side, that's codependency. So because the compassion becomes a compulsion to help people to your own detriment. But hypnosis is wonderful. And I tell my guided imagery clients, and I'm sure you'll completely understand this, I tell them, I shut my eyes with them, because it's guided imagery and it's different than what you're doing. But I'm shutting my eyes with them. I'm kind of on the journey with them. And I tell them, if you start to feel nervous, upset, or uncomfortable, open your eyes and tell me. You're going to snap out of it just like that. Just open your eyes, focus on something in the room, an object, and just tell me, and we'll shut off the music and we'll be present. We'll be right here. Just bring them to the present. You're not out of control when you're actually more in control. You're conscious of your subconscious when you're under hypnosis.
Yeah. Would you like to know how I explain hypnosis?
I would love to hear it, because I am a hypnosis lover. It works for everything.
I always tell them, I ask the clients or prospects if they've ever experienced reading a book and they got so intrigued by the story that they just had to finish it, right? Yes. That they just thought about reading for 30 minutes and it became 2 hours without them even noticing it. Maybe the coffee even went cold, or the tea, but they're just white paper with black letters on it, right? There's nobody forcing them to finish the story. It's their own decision to finish the story, right? But you can, at every single second, you can put the book aside and start doing something else.
Yes.
And for me, that's exactly a great metaphor to explain a hypnotherapy session.
Absolutely. It's beautiful. And it also tells them your story is important to you. So go with your story. I don't know if there's a better term than under hypnosis, but you're in hypnosis. So I like the semantics or everything, but yes, hypnosis, I know from doing it and having professionals lead me through it, it's taking you on a journey of your own life so you can fix the things you want to fix. And again, you're conscious of your subconscious. So you don't have your subconscious ego driving you all the time. You can step back and go, whoa, that's just my ego talking, and my ego, get out of my own way. That's what get out of my own way means, is you're not letting your ego and subconscious drive you. You're driving your own subconscious that way.
Yeah.
You're in more control when you think you're out of control. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, exactly. And I always say that, it's not that as a hypnotherapist, you take over control of the client, it's you start a cooperation with the subconscious of the client. And the control shifts from the conscious mind towards the subconscious mind, but it's still the client that's in control. Oh, and I explain myself to be a storyteller that tells a story, an intriguing story that the subconscious thinks, oh, this is interesting. I want to know how this ends, this story. And it's the subconscious mind that keeps the client in a trance. And I don't care how deep or how low it is, it's just, I'm only focusing on solving the problem.
Yes, exactly. Solution focused. I'm a solution focused therapist. And you asked about clients, and I am so appreciative. Sometimes I'll just simply have people, I even have them print out a fake diploma and hang it on their wall. But I visualize them having the diploma, going to the place they want to work. I have them visualize people who cannot believe for 1 minute they could ever go to college or university or study or do anything. And then about 3 or 4 years later, I'll get a text message. I'll get a message on my phone. They send me a picture of their real diploma. Wow. And I didn't do that. I didn't get the diploma for them. I didn't do the work. I just planted the seed. Somebody else watered it in terms of their professors, and they did the work. They took the action to get it. But that seed of hypnosis is that powerful. And your brain is more powerful than you think it is. It really, really is.
Oh yeah, that's the reason I got into coaching. I saw a lot of unused potential with my clients. But they didn't come to me to activate this full potential. They just came to me to get rid of a problem. And that's why I changed towards my focus towards coaching, because if you coach people, they want to get the best out of themselves. Yes. And I always say people limit themselves without realizing it. Yes. And it's so wonderful that the moment they become aware that they are much more capable than they give themselves credit for. Yes. It's like this aha moment for your clients. And it's wonderful to see that.
It is. It's absolutely rewarding. It absolutely is. And it's rewarding for them. So it's mutual benefit and reciprocity and all those good things. I mean, that's why humans are connected. This is why humanity needs to be connected. I think we're all the same, no matter where we're from. We might look different. We might act differently. We might wear different clothing, but underneath it all, we just want to be loved and love and be accepted for who and what we really are, and to become our best. And that's what coaches want to help people do. Not become what we think your best is, what you think your best is.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess since you've helped a lot of people, what are also some funny stories you could share with the audience?
some funny stories about people I've helped. Have to be careful there. Well, I could go to the KISS tour. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, sure.
I did help Gene Simmons. I did not realize until after I got out of graduate school. I said, I've always been a therapist. And it has something directly to do with hypnosis. So I guess a connection was made. But the first day of the KISS tour, the very first day, and I was very much into auto hypnosis back then. They used to call it autogenic training, auto hypnosis, transcendental meditation. You know, it was the 70s. It was the late 70s, but I'd been practicing it for probably 7 or 8 years already. It's when it was popular in its heyday. So on my first job on the KISS tour, Gene Simmons' costume did not come in, it came in pieces. And it was the big bad monster costume with all the, you know, it looked like metal, but it was really polyurethane, and it wasn't put together. He was so upset. Now, granted, I would be too. I would be upset, but I stayed just like a pilot. And I said, if you quit yelling, I can get it together. And he said, no, you can't do it in that time. I said, if you stop screaming, it'll be done. I said, if you just calm down, I can help you. Just stand still. I'm going to pin it to you. I'm going to fit it to you. And I stayed really calm, just like a hypnosis, you know, a hypnotherapist would do. Because I was there. I mean, I was keeping myself in that meditative state because he was yelling at me, and I don't think he was yelling at me. I think he was yelling to me, but it, you know, it sets your vagus nerve off. So I remember talking to him like that. And he goes, why aren't you upset? And I said, because if I get upset, it won't get finished. And it's just a rock and roll show. And the world is still spinning on its axis. And you have another costume in the closet, but I can get this done. I can, if I stay calm and I don't get upset and I understand why you are, then this will be done. And it was done by showtime. It was done well. I put thimbles on all my fingers and I went, wow, I guess. And his road manager said, nobody talks to him like that. And I said, well, I wasn't mean. He said, no, but nobody talks to him like that. And I said, but I didn't have a choice. So do you see how I didn't realize even back then I was doing something therapeutic for even rock stars have problems. They do. It's scary. You know, you're going to go on stage and all you have is an old costume falling apart. I got why he was upset, but I also knew if I kept my cool and stayed in that no ego zone and was a facilitator of his calmness, then everything would unfold and fall into place. I was affirming to him that I could do it. I am doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And I totally get what you're saying. You know, it reminds me also what my mentor once said, that if you're going to do a hypnotherapy session, you know, he calls it going first, because he said you're not trying to put your client in a trance, you know. Right. You are going in trance yourself and you invite them to join you. That's a whole different approach, right? Yes, but it's beautiful to look at it that way. And
I'm so grateful. And that's why I shut my eyes during guided imagery. They're leading me. They're telling me what they're seeing and I'm seeing it with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful.
I love it. Yeah.
And I also remember that I once had a client, and I think I just had one weekend of training, right? I only had one technique and script I could follow. Mm-hmm. And there was this man, and he had a certain challenge, a mental challenge. We had a great pre-talk. I knew exactly what he wanted, what his obstacles were. And when I wanted to do the hypnosis session with him, he said, you know, I don't know if I'm very easy to be hypnotized, because he had been on stage with a hypnotherapist. There was a well-known hypnotherapist in the Netherlands, or hypnotist in the Netherlands, to stop smoking, but it didn't work for him, right? And even though that was a very famous hypnotist, I just said that, okay, well, that's fine, but we just spoke about it, and you know you want it, and now you want it, so it's just going to happen. And even though I just had like 3 days training, I didn't have any doubt in my system. And we did the session. It went great. I contacted him a week later, asked him, you know, how's everything going? Do you need a second session? We can just plan it. And he was amazed how easy he went into a trance.
Yes.
And he said, you know, no, it's great. You know, you changed my life. I'm forever grateful for you. If there's anything I can do for you, just let me know. And it of course, it gives you a really ego boost at that moment, because you're just starting, right? But it's such a great feeling to be able to help people on that way.
Yes.
And it's what you said, it's at certain moments you're just in a flow, and it just
Yes.
goes. You don't think about it. It just went like you imagined. And yeah, it works out great.
Yeah, it really does. I do a lot of inner child healing meditations and or inner child healing exercises, and I never tell it, some a client can come, and I do many of them. A client can come and you think they're going to bring up the memory of the horrific thing that brought them there, that they've been reliving through trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And many times in an inner child healing, another memory will bubble up. So I don't direct them to the memory that's traumatic. I just direct them, what age are you? Where do you see yourself? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then they bring their adult self in, their higher adult self, to deal with whatever the scene is. And if needed, I'll bring in authority figures, or even, law enforcement if I have to, whatever their trauma was, and to resolve that issue with them as a child and feel they're reparenting themselves and protecting themselves. And they come out of it and they go, wow, I wouldn't have thought that was bubbling up out of my subconscious. But yes, you are leading them. And when you have that vibration of being there yourself before they get there, you're really helping them help themselves even better. Again, your ego's out of the way. It's just, your ego's out of the way.
Yeah, nice. So is there any success story that if you think about it, it still gives you chills?
Yes. Still, I can veil it and say in general terms, I'm going to compile about 3 people, but the story is so similar, they won't know who it is, because we have to be very careful in our business.
Of course. Yeah.
But so many people come to me, and I understand how people say, why don't you just leave an abuser? Why don't you just leave? Why don't you just leave? Well, it's like asking a heroin addict, well, why don't you just quit using heroin? Because they're in a trauma bond, and it's physiological. They are hooked. They have been living with someone who's nice and then not nice, the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. So they're bound by chemistry. They're addicted to this person. So when I tell them, they're so afraid when they come to me, I'm just going to make them leave that person. That's not my job. I mean, I can't make anyone do anything. As you well know, you can't, hypnosis or not. But the beautiful, wonderful story that I've seen, and I've seen it many times, but this one particular one, she left at her own pace. I slowed her down. Don't talk to everybody about it. You do what you want, when you want, and how you want. And to see that exit strategy, this just leave doesn't work. Developing an exit strategy, I used a lot of guided imagery, and now this person does the same thing. That person helps other people recover doing the same thing. So it's like you're passing it on. You're not just helping one person, you're helping every other person that person comes in contact with. It made believers of all her friends. Like, wow, we all thought she should just leave, just go, just get out of there. No. I mean, if you're in imminent danger, yes, but that wasn't the situation. But to tell someone to slow down and do it at their own pace, kind of like, just open your eyes. If it's too scary for you, stop, slow down. Just rest, take a respite from the battle. Do it at your own pace, and slowly and slowly. And I wish I could tell you all the details of her life, but everything, and I mean everything, fell into place beautifully. Wow.
Nice.
It was amazing. So yes. And to see her pass it on to others, even
more amazing. That's even a ripple effect people don't take into account, but it's wonderful if it works.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
So are there any favorite, is there a special niche you help people with?
Well, I'm in a place where there is a lot of trauma. I'm in Florida. And anybody, I don't care where you live in the world, they have only in Florida things on the news in the United States. So I don't even there. I mean, Florida has an interesting reputation, and I wasn't born here, but I lived here, and then I moved to Nashville. I was in New York with KISS, and then I moved to Nashville for 30 years. So I had a very different view when I came back here. I said, oh my gosh, I forgot how traumatic things were here. So yes, it's very, very different here. And see, even just talking about it, I lose the point of the question, because this is a difficult place to be. So I work mostly with trauma, because this is a place where therapy and hypnotherapy, not the whole state, there's Tampa, Orlando, Miami. We have big cities here,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in the middle of Florida is mostly just a lot of cattle and houses. I mean, it's a retirement place. So
Yeah.
there's a stigma to therapy here. It's still here. I live in a place where there's still a stigma to getting mental health help. COVID changed that a lot.
Hmm.
It helped a lot,
Yeah, yeah.
but they don't come to me until they're on emotional fire down where I am. They don't have just one thing going on. They've got 10 things going on.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, or 3 things, and they're pretty traumatic things. So I usually work with helping people piece their lives back after grief, trauma, and sometimes they've waited so long to get help. And I understand it because I've done the same thing. I mean, I'm a psychiatrist kid. I'm not allowed to be, I
Yeah.
have to, I can't do that. So I always say that there's a beautiful book out now. It's written by a therapist and her therapist. And I tell people when I need therapy, I get it. When I have a life event, I have somebody I go to, and I'm not ashamed of that,
Yeah.
because it would be foolish for anyone to believe that I can handle life events any better than you can. Like during COVID, people would call and say, I'm lonely. I can't see anyone. I can't go out. Neither could I. But I had my dog and I had coping skills, and I
Yeah.
had my partner. So yes, mostly trauma, to answer your question, mostly
Yeah.
trauma.
I can understand it. Yeah. And it's also something that the reason I got into hypnotherapy, was that I followed a webinar that were talking about regression, and I've 2 adopted boys, as you might see if you're looking at video.
Yes.
And I thought, I could help my boys with that. And that's actually the reason why we started the training, if only we could help our boys with it. And
Yes.
if you dive into it a bit more, they might say, regression, going back in the past, you can't change the past because it happened. And that's true, they're totally in the rights to say that. But what we can change is the memory of the past, right? Because if you're thinking about the past, you're recreating that memory in the present.
Yes.
And you can reprogram that memory, so to speak. And that's
Yes.
actually what you do.
Yes. Reliving it is not relieving it.
Exactly.
It isn't. It isn't. It's changing the memory's perspective. I went through a horrible tragedy, several, but a really horrible one. And I said, okay, I can let this define me or refine me. I can stay stuck in the past, or I can get past the past, and I can have post-traumatic stress disorder, or I can discover post-traumatic growth. And I believe in post-traumatic growth. It's neuroplasticity. It's retraining your brain to look at that. Okay, that was a catapult moment of my life that created this epiphany that helped me be who I am today. I wouldn't be where I am today if this didn't happen to me. It didn't happen because of me. It happened to me, but it doesn't mean it has to stay there. Will the memory of it stay there? Yes, but when you reframe it and refocus on what you learned from it, not because of it, but from it, and you don't try to make sense of the senseless, but you say, okay, what did I learn from this experience? And then you start positive things you learn from the experience, not toxic positivity, but what did I learn? I learned through this tragedy to be more compassionate toward people that have this happen. From this, I learned that. So when you take lessons from the things that are handed to you, you can use neuroplasticity to change the whole outcome of your entire life and everyone around you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the beauty of our work as well,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. I'm sure we could talk for hours on this subject.
Yes, we could. We both love it. We both love it.
Yeah, definitely.
If anyone is a skeptic on hypnosis, just try it.
Yeah.
Just try it. Go in skeptical. I sure did. I was so skeptical the first time I went in. I was like, I was having surgery and my dad sent me to one of his friends. I went, I was probably 17, just a little 17-year-old brat. And I said, and I was so bratty. I said, while you're at it, could you just hypnotize me not to eat so many cheeseburgers? And you know what? To this day, I do not eat cheeseburgers because they make me ill. She said, you will get ill if you eat them. I get ill if I eat them. I mean, I went in skeptical and it helped me, do something. I really didn't want to eat cheeseburgers. So
yeah. And I think that's a challenge of my work, but also of your work, is to really discover whether or not the client wants the change.
Yes.
Right? You can say it that you want something, but if I don't see it or feel it, I'm not starting it.
Exactly.
But if I can see it in their body language, you know, their non-verbal communication, and I can feel it, I know it's going to work.
Desire.
Yeah.
It's way beyond wanting. It's desiring. It's needing. It's necessary to go on to do this thing or to not do a thing like smoking. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The desire, when the desire is intense, it changes the intention. And then the hypnosis, they want it they want it beyond wanting it. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I can also remember that when I'm doing a lot of sessions, you know, I always say time is relative. And I actually experienced it myself once. Where we were in a training, and this lady therapist was doing the exercise on me. And at a certain moment, she asked me, and that's the issue with, at least it's my issue, if I talk for myself, you know, as a therapist. If you're in a training and you have to practice the stages and the scripts and stuff like that, then I truly want to undergo the session, but I also somehow want to keep track of where we are in the script.
Yes.
So I'm like a little bit of self-sabotaging in that sense, right? And I still remember today that she did this exercise on me, and suddenly she asked me, you can use your own voice to answer to me. And I thought to myself, but did she ask me a question? Where are we? What did I miss? Right? Yes. And if she had told me that moment that she was already working for 90 minutes, you know, straight, I would totally have believed her. You know, I lost total track of time.
Yes.
But the last moment I remembered from the session, and the moment she asked me that question, that's a maximum time span of 2 minutes.
Wow.
Oh, and I was just,
it's expansive. It expanded your mind. Yes.
You can't imagine it until you've experienced it.
No. And even if you're skeptical, try it, because you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
Yeah. I sometimes I offer a person an experience session, you know, just to experience hypnosis. Yeah. And almost the most common answer I get or response I get, oh, I didn't expect that. I say, well, welcome to the club.
Yes, you didn't. Yeah. And you probably didn't either. Your first time you got hypnotized, it just went in skeptical. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Yes. So if you could share a little tip or a little piece of wisdom with the audience, Mary, what would that be?
Wow, that's a big question. And truly, I know people have heard this so many times, but be your true self, not just be yourself, be your true self. I think we are at a time in human history that I'm sure there's been darker times in times past, but not any that I remember. And I'm in my 60s. So this is a pretty rough time in human history. I think it's absolutely essential that we all tap in to the best of ourselves and to remember to be the best of ourselves, who you really are at the core, not this survival instinct COVID person, or not this person who's afraid and not running off of fear. Run off your true self, not the self that trauma. I mean, the whole globe has had PTSD symptoms. There's been suspicion, and it's just been really globally. We've never experienced a pandemic in our generation. And so to be the light and be yourself. And you have to do it by being your true self, not the self that trauma may have done to you or that being locked down may have done to you, but the one who wants to get out and live again and be focused. So yeah, just be yourself and let everyone else be themselves too. Less judging. Don't have an invisible gavel in your hand.
Yeah,
be yourself, let everyone else be themselves.
That's wonderful advice. And to add to that, you don't see your own blind spots. So don't think that Well, at least be open for help and to ask for help, right? I
Yes,
think it's a quote from Albert Einstein that he said something. You can't solve a problem with the same thinking that caused the problem.
exactly. That quote's actually in my book. You cannot solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it. You can't solve hate with hate, murder with murder, anxiety with anxiety. You just can't. This is why pilots stay so calm right before planes are having trouble. They just say brace for impact because they believe they can still bring it up. They still believe they can save everyone, and it happens. They do.
Yeah,
So yes, when we don't try to solve problems with the same consciousness that created it, that collective consciousness gets very kind all of a sudden, and we start working together for a solution problems instead of fighting against each other. We're fighting for each other to be cohesive. So yes,
exactly.
that's
Nice.
what we hope for. That's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
Exactly. I truly believe that every person is unique and is on this earth to make a positive impact. And you can
Yes.
only do that by being your true authentic self.
Yes. That's what changes the world. I mean, we're like fingerprints, all of us are. And I love it that we're all simultaneously completely different and exactly alike. I just love the paradox of that.
Exactly. Right. It's the one thing in common is that we're all different.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Beautifully put.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
if people want to know more about you, Mary, or get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Well, I'm easy to find. It's Mary Joye, and Joy has an E on the end. It's Joye, Winter Haven Counseling, or they can just Google Mary Joye LMHC, which stands for Licensed Mental Health Counselor, and it'll be on Google search. I'll be on Psychology Today. I've written a lot of articles, and I write for Daily Om, and I have a book on it. You can get it anywhere books are sold. See, I'm holding a pencil in my hand. All writers hold pencils all the time.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, so you can
Well,
find me anywhere.
yeah, great. It was a real pleasure talking to you, Mary, and sharing
Same here.
experiences. I really had a great time. I hope you had a great time as well.
Yes,
Uh,
thank you.
let's stay connected and stay in touch.
Yes, thank you so much.